and call no man your father upon the earth, for one is your Father which is in heaven. Neither be ye called masters, for one is your master, even Christ. But he is that the greatest among you shall be your servant. And whoever shall exalt himself shall be abased, and he that shall humble himself shall be exalted. But woe unto you, scribes, and you Pharisees, hypocrites! For you shut up the kingdom of heaven against men. For ye neither go in yourselves, neither suffer ye them that are entering to go in. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make long prayer. Therefore ye shall receive the greater damnation. Woe unto you, scribes and you Pharisees, hypocrites! For you compass sea and land to make one proselyte, and when he is made, you have made him twofold more the child of hell than yourselves. And Jesus answered and said unto them, Blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood hath not revealed it unto thee, but my Father which is in heaven. And I say also unto thee, Thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And I will give you the keys to the kingdom of heaven. Isaiah said, Those who try and hide their plans from the Lord are doomed. They carry out their schemes in secret and think no one will see them or know what they are doing. They turn everything upside down. You're looking at the Vatican in St. Peter's Square. St. Peter's Square is in the shape of a keyhole. The Vatican itself is in the shape of an upside-down cross. This is truly the devil's church that has misappropriated and hidden the keys to the kingdom of heaven. Even the name St. Peter's Basilica gives away the identity of Satan's church. Basilica, the origination of the word, means a place of a king. The word basilisk refers to a serpent described as a dragon that can kill by its breath or look. Basilica translates into the abode of the basilisk, which is the abode of the serpent, the royal serpent, the serpent that wears a crown.
Revelation 12. And behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. And his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. And the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, Now is come salvation and strength, and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time.
As you view the entirety of the Vatican itself, the upside-down cross, at the head of the cross, the head of the serpent becomes visible. The conspicuously placed circles for the eyes of the serpent, as well as the square window for the exit of the tongue on the mouth of the serpent, becomes obvious. It is truly the abode of the serpent. The dome on the top of the Vatican becomes the crown of the serpent, truly hidden in plain sight. The entirety of the Vatican is an upside-down cross, with a serpent at the head of the cross wearing a crown. This is truly the Church of Satan, and the keys to the kingdom of heaven have been hidden by Satan himself in the form of one of the largest Christian churches in the entire world, boasting of over 1.2 billion members, deceived by Satan himself. Woe unto you, Pharisees and teachers of the law, for you have taken away the key to knowledge. You don't go in yourselves, and you kept those who are trying to enter from entering. Your damnation shall be the worse.
Satan, the accuser of the brethren, took on the form of what's called a Nakash in Genesis 3. This is his first encounter with humanity, and this is when he deceives Adam and Eve. The Hebrew word is the Strong's Concordance 5175, Nakash in Genesis 3:1. And it's not just a creepy crawly snake. It is a shining serpent. It's an upright fallen angel. It's Satan in this form that he was beautiful to look upon, and he tempted Eve. It was more than Eve eating a piece of fruit, but the point of this Nakash reference is that he, the serpent, manifests all over the world in all these various cultures in disparate time periods: the Mayans, the Aztecs, the Egyptians, the Sumerians, Phoenicians, in Asia and Japan and China. And there's this obsession with this dragon, this winged serpent, and this isn't just the rudimentary imaginations of man coming up with some mythological creature. These are carvings of what they saw, and it's pretty evident to see that. It's hard to explain this as just coincidence that all these cultures came up with this same creature without there being some type of common denominator being Satan. Just like it says in Revelation we just listened to, that he deceives the whole world. He's deceived the whole world. And Michael's going to cast him out. Michael is going to fight with the angels, and they're going to fight Satan and his fallen angels, which is 1/3 of the angels, and they're going to get cast down to the earth. And Satan's going to then set up his New World Order government, but he has to have the groundwork here. He has to have a throne built for him, so that when he gets here, because he knows he has a short time, he's going to have to sprint right out of the gate. And so we're trying to expose to you that his groundwork has been laid, the channels of communication and the channels of worship and these avenues and funnels of blind loyalty, fealty, devotion, trust. The world right now is facing something deeper than human corruption or greed or malice or lust for power. It's a lot darker than that, and there are plenty of humans and things that look human on this earth that have chosen their king, and they've chosen Lucifer. They think that he's got a chance to win. They backed him at the original fall of the angels. They thought he could, set his throne above the Most High, and they are gonna fight to the death. They're dug in, and there are humans that have accepted their role, and they think that they're going to be rewarded. If anyone saw Transformers 3, you'll see this concept.
I remember a talk I had with my dad once about tough choices.
And now's not the time. We'll set something up, though.
Of course, that was way back when my dad's firm was in charge of budget review and accounting for NASA. You see, the thing that he taught me was, when it's not your war, you join the side that's going to win. You really think you're the first man ever asked to join the noble alien cause?
Who are you?
You know why we've not been back to the moon since 1972? Because these two, they came to my dad and they told him to do some creative accounting. They get way too expensive to ever go back, so he and others shut down the American and Russian space programs, and they've been our clients ever since.
You help to kill people?
You think they give you a choice? Besides, it's not like I personally participate. I am a liaison. I liaise. It's hostile takeover time, Sam.
Big
Begone, insect operative. Your work is done.
Excellency. You chose sides? You chose wrong.
That's it. That he's going to get to rule forever, but it's going to be for 1260 days, what's known as the Great Tribulation in the Bible. This is all prophesied in the Bible. So if you're not a believer and you see that there is this nefarious, unhuman-like evil that is manipulating world events, creating false flag terror events, starting these doctrines of man and these religions that all are going to be prepared, and they're all going to culminate whenever he does arrive. He's going to appear benevolent, but he is going to be that old serpent, Satan. And just like when he tempted Jesus in the desert in Luke, he took him to all the kingdoms of the earth, and he said, look, these all belong to me, for the glory of them has been bestowed to me from God. God has allowed Satan to set up these governments and kingdoms and royal bloodlines, and it's all part of the plan. He's going to let Satan flex all of his muscles, and he's still going to win. So we're here not to pick on any one particular religion, but to show you that they are all tracing back to you, that old serpent, Satan. The devil, the deceiver, he has created all of these false religions, these man-made, satanically inspired, man-made religions, as evidenced here. John of Patmos, who saw the visions that Jesus gave him, and he wrote the book of Revelation in 70 AD. When he was shown the mark of the beast and the number, it was in a foreign language to him at the time, and he just wrote down what he saw. And what he wrote was the Greek number 666 here as he wrote it. And as you can see, it is an eerie match for the phrase "in the name of Allah," and there is even it even looks like a serpent to me. I mean, here it is. And the Arabic language was not officially recorded as being a written down language until 512 AD. So John saw this and wrote it in 70 AD, and then 500 years later we have the phrase "in the name of Allah."
The first thing we need to do if we're going to find out if the devil is at the Vatican is take a tour underneath the Vatican. As we arrive underneath the Vatican, we see that it is laid out in a number of rooms marked by letters, as we could see in this aerial view map. Now we will be exploring some of the rooms in this map. Let's start off by looking in room C here. As we look into the room, we see that this is a mausoleum of Lucius Tullius Zethus. The Vatican goes on and explains that this room was used for offerings to the dead. We read, "View of the north wall and mosaic floor. In the corners of the mosaic floor there are 8 marble squares with circular holes through which offerings to the dead were poured during the funeral rites carried out in the burial chamber." So here we have a room where offerings are done to the dead. That's pretty common in Catholicism. Now if we look in the next room, room E, so here in this room they have a vase which has the image of a Medusa. So here underneath the Vatican we have a Medusa. Again, we ask ourselves the question, this is a vase, but yet it's kept underneath the Vatican. This could have easily been removed. If the Vatican was a holy church, you would think that they would have done this. You think underneath the Vatican they would have things that are sacred to Christ and not foreign gods, not idols and images of foreign gods. Now as we move down further to room H, here we see that this is the mausoleum that is one of the largest and most luxurious mausoleums underneath the Vatican of St. Peter's Basilica. It says that it was built at the beginning of the second half of the 2nd century during the reign of Emperor Marcus Aurelius and belonging to a freedman of the important Valeri family. And as we're in this mausoleum, we see that there's lots of idols from the old Roman Empire. We ask ourselves, why does Rome keep these idols down underneath St. Peter's Basilica? You would think if they were Christians, they would want to clean all this out. I can't imagine anybody who has a true church would keep idols in their churches, especially pagan idols left over from a bygone pagan era. But here we have the Vatican keeping many pagan idols underneath St. Peter's Basilica. Here is an idol the Vatican is displaying of a head of a child in gilded stucco and a lock of a hair typical of one initiated into the cult of Isis. And this particular idol is an idol of a boy who was initiated into the cult of Isis. If we look in this room, we see that some of the stucco decorating the walls. Here we have a personification of Oceanus. We remember the New Testament book of Revelation says that a beast comes out of the ocean. And so we say, why is the Vatican having these foreign gods underneath its basilica? Why is it protecting them? If it was a true church, it couldn't be doing it for the sake of art, especially with all the evil things that are happening in the Vatican. And as the priest earlier said, that evil does exist, the devil is real, as he admitted. But the hypocrisy of all of this is that they have all these evil images and idols underneath the Vatican of St. Peter's Basilica. We also see two figures of genuses with bat wings also portrayed on the walls. Again, this is supposed to be a holy church and a holy place. Now this is supposedly all there for many, many years. As we move into the next room, room I, the details of the mosaic floor with Mercury and Pluto's chariot, they go on and explain that this theme is an explicit reference to the overcoming of death and the return of the afterlife. They describe it as a splendid mosaic floor of Mercury is depicted carrying a caduceus with wings at his ankles, walking in front, and a chariot carrying Pluto and his wife Persephone. So here we have all these Roman gods underneath the Vatican, images of foreign gods. Well, as we move to the next room, we find out why they keep all these idols down there in these images. As we move to room U, here we find the shock of all shocks. Here on the wall, it says there is a depiction of Lucifer, that is, the light bearer, the morning star. On the opposite of the wall, there is a drawing of Vesper, the evening star, cosmic symbol of the human life cycle. We find out that when we get to room U, here we have a clear depiction of Lucifer underneath the Vatican at St. Peter's Basilica. We ask ourselves, why are they keeping this image of Lucifer underneath the Vatican? Again, you would think if you're a Christian church, you would not want to have any of these images. Now we know that they'll go on and say, oh, well, we're saving it because it's a UNESCO heritage site or something like that. This is always their excuse, saving it for the sake of art. But for the true Christian, this is not an excuse, because we know if you're giving glory and propaganda to false deities and false pagan gods, what are you doing? You're in essence supporting the evil spiritual realm. This cannot be from God. And since Rome claims itself to be the one true church, you would think they would lead by example. But what kind of example is this? That you have a depiction of Lucifer underneath the Vatican for countless hundreds and hundreds of years? Now this image here underneath the Vatican has been there since their claim, which would be Constantine. We would know that he was the first one that built this basilica. And so again we ask ourselves, why are they keeping this depiction of Lucifer underneath the Vatican? Well, we think the answer for why all these images, idols, are kept underneath the Vatican is because what we're dealing with here is we're dealing with an apostate church that has always been apostate, and even now as it is filled with Freemasons. And so we know that the reason why they're keeping all this there now, and they're actually revealing this on their internet website, is because they want people to see this. They want people to see what they're really all about. For the masses who believe that Rome is still a pure church, they don't mind deceiving them into believing that they are still a Christian church. As you go down underneath the Vatican, down into the next rooms, they will try to convince you on this tour that you take that Peter is buried down there in one of the rooms, and that this gives credence to following the Pope. But we ask the question, why would you want to follow a Pope who has all these evil things underneath his church? It's very clear by this depiction of Lucifer that the devil is in the Vatican. He's hidden way down underneath the Vatican at St. Peter's Basilica.
The majority of these used car salesmen everybody calls priests is that they're not qualified to teach you about spirit. You've been told that they are, but they're not. Do you understand that they are practicing occult Satanism, whether they know it or not? Some of them were probably indoctrinated into Catholicism. Others were indoctrinated into Satanism and are posing as Catholic priests. Either way, they're recruiting and manipulating people with it. And if somebody does know about the occult side of it, they're not going to tell you anyway. So you have to know the truth in order to be able to see this. They're not qualified to teach you about spirit. Why? Because even if their intentions are good, they've learned about God from the Bible. These people aren't qualified to teach you about spirit any more than somebody's qualified to teach you how to ride a bike who's only read a book about riding a bike, and a fraudulent one at that, and has never ridden one themselves. They're not qualified. But because the mind control is so stiff and so strong, and there's so much fear of the unknown attached to it, the people that desperately want to ride a bike but have been programmed with this would rather kill somebody who can show them how to ride the bike because of the fear and the mind control, which is what happened to Christ. Catholicism is pure Satanism. The problem is you shouldn't need to be told that. You should be able to see that. Priests that come out and need their audience and admiration in their temple. Why does God need a temple, a building? What? It means nothing. But they get off on that because everybody gives the priest their love. I gotta be nice to a priest so I get into heaven. They don't give anything back. They just absorb the love, which is what a lot of spiritual, quote, gurus do. They absorb your energy through admiration.
Isaiah said, "Those who try and hide their plans from the Lord are doomed. They carry out their schemes in secret and think no one will see them or know what they are doing. They turn everything upside down." So I'm going to apply that to this right now. I turned it upside down. Now you have a dead sheep. There's the eye of the sheep, the other eye, there's a nostril, and there's the tongue of the sheep. So now what was an image of the Virgin, when it's turned upside down, becomes an image of a dead sheep. We're going to look into this further because this is way more than a dead sheep. So their plans are to kill sheep. Who are they? Well, this is the Roman Catholic Church. "Come away from her, my people, for her sins are piled as high as heaven, and the time of her judgment has come. As a servant of the Lord must not quarrel, but be gentle to all and teach patiently, in humility, correcting those who are in opposition. If God perhaps will grant them repentance," so repentance is a gift granted to you by God, "so that they will know the truth and that they may come to their senses and escape the snare of the devil, having been taken captive by him to do his will. So the devil has put everyone in a snare. You are in a snare. That's what the Bible says. Everyone, the whole world, every human being has been put in a snare. A snare is an especially deceptive trap that turns the victim upside down. That's what a snare is. It's a trap. Well, now I'm going to show you what a snare is on a molecular level. This is snares, S-N-A-R-E, little s, and the V-ATP is adrenaline triphosphate. ATP poised at the final steps of synaptic fusion. ATP is produced in what's called your mitochondria. Your mitochondria produces the breath of every cell. So energy equals breath. Spirit, the word for spirit, the definition of spirit is breath. In Genesis, God breathed into Adam and he became the spirit of life and he became a living soul. So breath equals spirit. Now the key to the kingdom of heaven has been given to Peter. Jesus said, "You will be the rock that I found my church on," because Peter recognized who the Messiah was. And it wasn't told to him by man. It was a gift given by God, the recognition of the Messiah. Okay, Peter was crucified upside down. The Roman Catholic Church has hidden the keys from you and from everybody in the whole world because they know the key to the kingdom of heaven. But they misappropriate it and they're doing this. They're getting people to worship the Virgin, and when you're worshiping the Virgin, it's a dead sheep.